The medical bay of Nexus Prime hummed, a symphony of advanced technology. I moved through the sterile halls. Just another day for Nurse Tessa Corvin. At a little over 4 feet tall, I was average for my species, the Aquari, but here among the Galactic Coalition forces, I was perpetually dwarfed. Today was a big day, though. The humans had officially joined us. Their homeworld was key in pushing back the Krell invasion, and now their soldiers fought alongside ours. And where there are soldiers, there are wounds. I stopped at Treatment Room 7. Lieutenant Jake Morrison, human male, 28. Blast injuries, head trauma, standard stuff. The file had basic human anatomy references, but I'd only skimmed them. I mean, how different could they really be? I pressed the panel, and the door hissed open. The room was dim, the patient unconscious. I approached the bed where he lay, his chest rising and falling. My first thought was, he looks strange. No bioluminescence, just this flat, textured skin covered in what the brief called hair follicles. His face was angular, kind of fascinating, with a strong jaw and dark stubble. I pulled up his treatment schedule. Time for the regular cleansing procedure to prevent infection. Routine work. I've done it countless times on countless species. I started with his arms, carefully working around the regeneration patches. His skin was warm, warmer than most species I'd treated. The muscles felt dense, defined. I found myself getting weirdly curious about human physiology. As I moved to his chest, I saw this strange pattern of hair. My people are completely smooth-skinned. What evolutionary purpose could this possibly serve? The text said something about temperature regulation, but it seemed so inefficient. I kept my professional detachment, the same way I always do, and moved to his legs. The procedure was almost done. All that was left was the area under the medical drape. Protocol is clear. Complete cleansing to prevent any post-surgical complications. I lifted the drape with clinical efficiency, ready to finish up and move on. And that's when it happened. The single most mortifying moment of my entire career. Between the human's legs, something was. Changing, growing, swelling at a rate that sent my medical training into overdrive. My amber eyes widened in absolute horror as the appendage expanded, the skin flushing with blood. Every instinct screamed, medical emergency. My brain took over. Symptoms: rapid tissue expansion, massive increase in local blood pressure, possible allergic reaction, anaphylactic shock. I dropped the sponge, my hands trembling as I slapped the emergency com panel. My voice came out all high and squeaky. Medical emergency in Treatment Room 7. Dr. Halvern, I need immediate assistance. Patient is experiencing rapid tissue inflation and possible systemic failure. Dr. Halvern's voice crackled back, calm but alert. Elaborate on symptoms, Nurse Corvin. The patient's lower extremity is experiencing unprecedented swelling. The rate of expansion is unlike anything in my database. I think he might be dying. I'm on my way. I just stood there, frozen, staring at this thing, convinced it was about to explode. The human was still completely out of it, no idea the chaos his body was causing. The door burst open and Dr. Halvern strode in, his cybernetic parts whirring. He's a Vex, mostly machine. His optical sensors focused on the patient, then on my horrified face, then back to the patient. He just stood there for a second, and then a sound came from his vocal synthesizer. Laughter. A deep, mechanical laugh echoing through the bay. Dr. Halvern, this isn't funny. The patient is clearly in distress. Nurse Corvin, he managed between synthetic chuckles. The patient is perfectly fine. In fact, I'd say he's in optimal health for a human male. Optimal health? His anatomy is now functioning dramatically. By now, other staff had shown up, drawn by the commotion. Medic Rena Salas, a veteran with silver skin and centuries of experience, took one look and joined Halvern's amusement. "Oh, sweet Nebula," she gasped, her multiple eyes crinkling. "Tessa, darling, has no one explained human reproductive biology to you?" "Reproductive? What does that have to do with a medical crisis?" Halvern's optical sensors focused on me with what might have been sympathy. "Nurse Corvin, what you're witnessing is not a malfunction. It's called an erection. It's a completely normal physiological response in human males. It indicates increased blood flow to the reproductive organ, typically triggered by physical stimulation or certain stages of sleep." I could feel my skin flush from aquamarine to a deep, embarrassing purple. "You mean I caused this?" "Your gentle cleansing provided tactile stimulation," Rena explained, trying to hold back her giggles. "Human males are apparently quite sensitive to touch in that region. It's a reflexive response, not a medical emergency. But it's so large. How do they function with such an appendage?" "It returns to normal size once the stimulation ends," Halvern said, his tone now purely educational. "Human biology is fascinating. It's a hydraulic system powered by blood pressure. I wanted to find the nearest airlock and just float away." The whole room was trying not to laugh. I could already hear the whispers starting. This story would be all over the station by the end of my shift. "Right," I said, trying to save a shred of dignity. "Completely normal. Understood. Perhaps a more thorough review of human anatomy would be beneficial before your next shift," Halvern suggested, a hint of amusement still in his voice. "Absolutely. I'll start immediately." As the others filed out, still chuckling, I was left alone with my unconscious patient. I looked at Jake's peaceful face, oblivious to the chaos he'd just caused. "You humans," I muttered, pulling the drape back into place with extreme care, "are going to be the death of my career." But as I finished up, I found myself glancing back at him. Past the mortification, I felt something else: curiosity. These humans were full of surprises. I didn't know it then, but that humiliating moment was just the start of the journey that would change my life. Later that night, filing my report and carefully omitting certain details, I couldn't get his face out of my mind. In treatment room 7, Jake Morrison slept on, dreaming of home, completely unaware that he had just become the most talked about patient in Nexus Prime. Thanks so much for listening to my story. I know it was a little embarrassing, but hopefully you got a good laugh out of it. If you enjoyed this little slice of my life in space, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more tailies from the Galactic Medical Bay. See you in the next one. The next morning, a mix of dread and anticipation clung to Tessa like a second skin. She'd spent half the night glued to her datapad, cycling through human anatomical databases. Her face shifted through every shade of purple as she absorbed information that honestly should have been in her briefing. The human reproductive system, she had to admit, was remarkably complex and utterly fascinating. She arrived at the medical facility early, hoping to finish her rounds before the day's shift and the inevitable teasing started. No such luck. As she walked down the main corridor, Medic Rena caught up, a knowing smile on her face. "Good morning, Tessa. Sleep well?" "Perfectly fine, thank you," Tessa replied, staring straight ahead. "I suppose you'll be avoiding treatment room 7 today?" "Actually," Tessa said, stopping, "I've been assigned as Lieutenant Morrison's primary care nurse for the duration of his recovery." Rena's smile vanished, replaced by surprise. "Dr. Halvern assigned you? After yesterday?" "He said it would be an excellent learning opportunity," Tessa said flatly. "I suspect he also finds it amusing." Rena's voice softened. "The humans are important to the Coalition now. Perhaps he wants you to become our resident expert on their physiology." "Don't be too hard on yourself, dear. We've all had embarrassing moments. I once tried to perform CPR on a Threxian, not realizing they have 3 hearts in completely different locations. Nearly killed the poor creature." Tessa couldn't help but smile. "Thank you, Rena. Just remember," Rena added, They're not so different from us where it matters. They laugh, they cry, they bleed. The rest is just interesting biology. With that small comfort, Tessa made her way to treatment room 7. She paused outside, took a deep breath, and pressed the entry panel. The door slid open. Jake Morrison was sitting upright in bed, awake and alert. His brown eyes tracked her as she entered. "Good morning, Lieutenant Morrison. I'm Nurse Tessa Corvin. I'll be overseeing your recovery." Jake's face broke into a warm smile that did strange things to Tessa's internal temperature. "Jake is fine. No need for formalities when you've already seen me at my most vulnerable." Tessa's skin flushed a deep purple. "You're awake. You were unconscious during the initial examination." "Yeah, but the whole medical bay heard about it," he said, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "Some human soldiers stopped by earlier to tell me I'd made quite an impression. He said the tiny blue nurse thought I was dying." "Aquamarine," Tessa corrected automatically. "And I apologize for the confusion. I should have been better prepared." "Hey, no apology needed," Jake said gently. "I think it's kind of sweet that you cared enough to panic." He shifted, wincing. "So how bad is it, Doc? When can I get back to my unit?" "I'm a nurse, not a doctor," Tessa said, moving to check his vitals. "And you have at least 2 weeks of recovery ahead. The blast damaged several ribs, and your head trauma requires monitoring. You're lucky to be alive." As she worked, Tessa was acutely aware of his gaze. Up close, she noticed details the dim light had hidden. His eyes were a rich brown with flecks of gold, surrounded by small lines that suggested he smiled often. A thin scar cut through his left eyebrow. "You're really small," Jake observed. "No offense meant. It's just meeting you in person is different. You're like a living gemstone." Tessa paused, her scanner hovering over his chest. "Your species is unusually large by galactic standards. Humans are statistical outliers in terms of size and physical density. Guess that's why they want us for combat roles," he said, his expression darkening slightly. "Though size didn't help much against Krell plasma weapons." "You were at Kepler Station?" Tessa asked, her professional detachment slipping. "Third wave assault. We were holding the reactor level when their demo team breached. I remember pushing my squad leader out of the blast radius, then nothing until I woke up here." He met her eyes, his own full of worry. "Did everyone make it?" Tessa quickly checked his file. "Your entire squad survived, thanks to your actions. You're being recommended for a commendation." Relief washed over Jake's features, and Tessa saw his eyes glisten. It was another fascinating human trait. They produced tears in response to emotion, not just irritation. "Thank the stars," he whispered. "I couldn't remember." The not knowing was worse than the pain. In that moment, something shifted. He wasn't just an embarrassing incident or a set of unusual biological features. He was a person who had sacrificed himself for others. "You're healing well," she said softly. "The regeneration treatments are working faster than Dr. Halvern predicted. Human cellular regeneration is impressive. We're pretty good at bouncing back," Jake's smile returned. "Comeys from evolving on a death world, or so they say. So, Nurse Tessa, what's your story? How does someone like you end up in a military medical facility?" "Someone like me? Small, gentle, clearly brilliant. You don't strike me as the military type." Tessa found herself sitting on the edge of his bed, something she never did. "The Aquari are a peaceful species. We joined the Coalition for Protection. I chose this path because I wanted to help people, to see the galaxy." She gestured around the medical bay. "Even if that understanding sometimes comes with embarrassing lessons." Jake laughed, a rich sound that filled the room. "If it makes you feel better, during basic training, I got a parasite that made me sneeze uncontrollably for 3 days. They had to quarantine me. Everyone has awkward moments. Yesterday wasn't your fault. It was just biology being biology." They talked for over an hour. She learned about his home, a place called Colorado, with mountains that touched the sky. He told her about his family and his dream of becoming a pilot. Tessa, in turn, told him about her home's glowing oceans and living coral cities. She found herself laughing, drawn to his easy warmth. A soft chime from her wrist device pulled her back to reality. "I need to check on other patients," she said, "but I'll be back this afternoon for your physical therapy." "I'll be here," Jake said. "Hey, Tessa. Thanks for talking with me. It gets lonely in here." "You're welcome, Jake." As she left, she saw Dr. Halvern watching from down the corridor. "The human seems to be responding well to treatment," he noted as she approached. "Yes, his recovery rate is exceptional. I also noticed you spent considerable time in conversation. Remember to maintain professional boundaries, Nurse Corvin." "Of course, Doctor." But as Tessa continued her rounds, she couldn't stop thinking about Jake's smile. Professional boundaries suddenly seemed like a very complicated concept. Over the next few days, a pattern emerged. Tessa's work always led her back to treatment room 7. She told herself it was just thorough patient care, but the truth was more complex. Jake was a model patient, but he was also incredibly charming. During one physical therapy session, Jake winced as he stretched. "Too much?" she asked, instantly concerned. "No, it's good. Hurts in the right way," he said, meeting her eyes. "You're really good at this, you know, making the painful stuff bearable. It's my job. It's more than that. You actually care. You remember things I've told you. You bring me those nutrient drinks in the flavor I like." Jake's expression grew serious. "I'm not imagining that there's something here, am I? Some kind of connection?" The question hung in the air. Her training screamed at her to deny it, but looking into his hopeful eyes, she couldn't lie. "No," she said softly. "You're not imagining it." His hand reached out, stopping just short of touching hers. "Is that allowed? A nurse and a patient?" "It's complicated. Fraternization is prohibited. It's a conflict of interest, but I won't be a patient forever." "No," Tessa agreed, her heart racing. "You won't." That evening, Tessa stared at her reflection. Her skin shifted colors, betraying her inner turmoil. She was falling for a human. It was illogical, impractical, and possibly career-damaging. It was also the most alive she had felt in years. Her device chimed. A message from Jake. "Thank you for today. You make being broken a lot more bearable. Sleep well, little gemstone." Tessa smiled, her skin settling into a soft pink glow, a color of deep affection. She typed a simple reply. "Rest well, Jake. Tomorrow we'll work on walking." As she settled in for the night, Tessa realized her carefully ordered life had become beautifully complicated. The human in treatment room 7 had awakened something in her, and she had no idea what to do next. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one. The Rehabilitation Center was a vast, high-tech space, and Tessa was already there, prepping for Jake's walking therapy. His recovery was remarkable, something Dr. Halvern called a testament to human resilience. But Tessa knew it was Jake's own fierce determination that was healing him so fast. Just then, Jake rolled in on a hoverchair, his face lighting up when he saw her. He made even the standard gray patient uniform look good. Tessa quickly pushed that thought away. "Good morning," she said, keeping her voice professional. "Ready to try standing on your own?" "Been ready for days," he grinned. "Let's do this." She helped him to the walking platform, her hands on his back, feeling the warmth of his skin through the thin fabric. The moment he was stable, she stepped back, activating the gravitational stabilizers. "The field will support 70% of your weight," she explained. "We'll reduce it as you get stronger. Take it slow." Jake nodded, gripping the rails, his face tight with effort as he slowly put weight on his legs. "How does it feel?" she asked, her eyes on his vitals. "Like my legs are made of jelly and fire," he panted. "But I'm standing. That's something." It's more than something, she said warmly. It's excellent progress. For the next hour, he took small, painful steps, never complaining. Instead, he told her stories. He talked about his military training, the mountains on Earth, and a camping trip with his sister, where they got so lost they needed rescuing. She still won't let me forget it, he said, catching his breath. Tells everyone how her big brother, the military hero, couldn't read a map. Tessa's laugh chimed in the quiet room. Family sounds complicated. The best kind of complicated, he replied, his expression turning wistful. I miss them. Even with faster-than-light communication, there's always a delay. It never quite feels real. Tessa offered a saying from her people. The ocean connects all waters, no matter how far they flow. Distance doesn't diminish love. It just changes how we express it. That's beautiful, he said softly. You're beautiful. The words hung in the air, heavier than his usual compliments. Tessa's skin flushed a deep purple. Jake, we shouldn't double quotes. I know. Professional boundaries, he cut in. But I won't be your patient much longer. When that happens, could we maybe spend time together? Not as nurse and patient, but just as us? Before she could answer, the comm system crackled. Nurse Corvin, please report to Dr. Halvern's office immediately. Tessa's heart sank. A formal summons. Someone must have reported them. She helped Jake back into his chair, her movements stiff with worry. Hey, he said, catching her hand. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out. You don't understand, she whispered. I could lose my position. Be sent home. Nothing inappropriate has happened, he insisted. We've just been talking. She squeezed his hand, then pulled away. I need to go. In Dr. Halvern's sterile office, she found not just the doctor, but Jake's commanding officer, Captain Bridger. Nurse Corvin, the captain began. Lieutenant Morrison has requested an early discharge. Relief washed over Tessa, quickly followed by confusion. His recovery has exceeded all projections, Dr. Halvern stated. Your professional assessment is that he's fit for discharge? Yes, doctor. The captain nodded. Good. I need him back. We're forming a joint tactical unit, and he'll be stationed here for training. Then his gaze sharpened. I understand you've spent considerable time with my officer. Tessa's skin paled. I've provided comprehensive care, ... I'm sure you have, Bridger interrupted. Let me be direct. I don't care if my people form personal connections. In fact, I encourage it. Understanding builds trust. What I do care about is if those connections compromise effectiveness. I would never allow that, she said firmly. I believe you, Bridger replied. But Morrison is no longer your patient. Which brings me to my actual purpose. We need a medical officer for the new unit. Someone familiar with both human and coalition physiology. Dr. Halvern recommended you. Tessa looked at the doctor, stunned. Your quick thinking and ability to learn are valuable assets, Halvern explained. It's a promotion, Nurse Corvin, Bridger added. And it would require working closely with Lieutenant Morrison, Tessa said, the full picture becoming clear. Among others, yes, the captain confirmed. Look, I'm not playing matchmaker. I'm building a team. If something develops between you and Morrison outside of duty hours, that's your business. I just need to know you can keep it professional when lives are on the line. Tessa thought of Jake's smile, his stories, the way her heart raced. This was everything she wanted, and it was terrifying. I can maintain professional standards, she said, her voice steady. Patient care comes first, always. Good. You have 24 hours to decide. Dismissed. Later that evening, Tessa found herself outside Jake's room. After hours of wrestling with her decision, one thing was clear. She wanted to be near him. She entered the room, and his face lit up with that smile that made her skin glow. I was hoping you'd stop by. I spoke with Captain Bridger, she began. I know, he said, looking a little uncertain. I might have put in a request, and suggested they needed someone like you for the unit. I hope that wasn't too forward, ... It was extremely forward, Tessa said, a smile breaking through. It was also thoughtful and sweet and completely inappropriate. But, he asked, hopeful. But I'm accepting the position. A whoop of joy echoed from him. He opened his arms, and she hesitated only a moment before walking into his embrace. It felt like coming home. This is probably against regulations, she murmured into his chest. Probably, he agreed. But you're not my nurse anymore. We're just two people who care about each other. It's more complicated than that, she whispered. Different species, different worlds, ... double quotes. He pulled back to look at her. Then let's find the one reason it should work. I like you, Tessa. More than like. When I'm with you, the universe feels less lonely. I feel the same way, she admitted. But I'm scared. What if we try this and it doesn't work? And what if we re-perfect for each other and we never find out because we were too afraid to try? He countered gently. I'm just asking for a chance. One date. Let's just see where this goes. She leaned into his touch, her decision made. One date. But if anyone asks, we're discussing cross-species medical protocols. The most romantic medical protocols in galactic history, he laughed. As she left his room, she paused at the door. Jake? Thank you for being patient with me. Tessa, he said, his voice full of warmth. You're worth waiting for. The door slid shut, but the connection between them felt stronger than ever. 3 months later, Tessa was the picture of professionalism in the Tactical Operations Center. She and Jake had found their rhythm, balancing duty and their growing relationship. It wasn't always easy, but the quiet evenings and shared laughter made it all worth it. As the shift ended, Jake walked over to her station. So, he said with a smile, my leave got approved. 3 days. And I hear you have time off too. Very coincidental, she replied, her skin glowing with happiness. I was wondering if you'd like to visit Earth with me. Meet my family. See a human sunrise. I would love that, she said, taking his offered hand. Then it's a date, he beamed. Our biggest adventure yet. And as they walked out together, a human soldier and an Aquari nurse, they proved that the greatest distances aren't measured in light years, but in the courage it takes to bridge the gaps between hearts.